one specific partner of Wonolo up that Wonoloers have access to right now. And like I said, we are here with Starship. So Shan, again, thank you so much for being here, and I will let you take it away to tell us what Starship is all about.
All right, thank you very much, Trad. We're very excited to be partnered with Wonolo and to be part of Wonolo Up. We are a modern mobile platform, as we like to say. So it's great to be affiliated with a program that's helping workers to take their benefits with them no matter where they go. So let's go ahead and get started. So what is Starship? Well, Starship is a simple no-fee app that includes a tax-advantaged health savings account, a Starship Visa debit card for a healthcare spending, and a health brokerage account to maximize your funds. What does that mean in a nutshell? Well, we are an app that helps you with your health expenses, and also to help you unlock the long-term value of a health savings account, which is investing in your future in the same way that you might with a retirement savings account. You see there that the Starship app is available on both the iOS and the Android platforms. It's also web-based, so you can essentially access it wherever you go. So what can you do with your Starship account? Well, a lot of the things that you might think of as a banking platform or a banking app, those work with Starship as well. They just are focused on your health savings and your health investing. You can track your spending, manage your contributions to your account. You can reimburse yourself. And of course, important in reimbursement is capturing receipts. So you can do that right in the app. You can transfer funds from one account to the other. So if you have some money in investment and some money in your health savings component, easy to make transfers. And you can transfer it from your existing bank, obviously, to make contributions. And then you can learn more about HSA. So one thing that we pride ourselves on is educating our customers on the value of HSAs, and also all of the sort of regulations and the compliance that you need to know. And of course, you can chat with us anytime. We have a great support team, a customer experience team, and they are available to you, and they know very much about the needs of gig workers and those who are, working side hustles, multiple jobs, you name it. We've got you covered. And as we said, it does come with this beautiful debit card. We get comments, when we're out using our own debit cards, like, what is that? Can I use that for anything? And right now it's just for health savings, maybe someday. But in terms of the things that you can use it for, you'll hear this term qualifying medical expenses. And this essentially refers to, since there is a tax benefit to using a health savings account, you're using your debit card for qualifying medical expenses in order to show that there is a tax that you shouldn't be charged taxes on it. Now that doesn't mean that when you go to the register and you tell them and you see tax showing up on your bill, you can tell them, hey, I'm not supposed to be charged taxes. It means that the IRS is not charging you taxes on this. So if you get it taken out of your paycheck if you get the money that you put into your HSA taken out of your paycheck pre-tax income tax, then that's one way to do it. But if you don't do that, which many gig workers don't have that option, you get the tax benefit at the end of the year, the same way that you might with an individual retirement account. So, but we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But suffice it to say, qualifying medical expenses, a lot of them dental, doctor visits, prescription eyeglasses, family care, wellness, even things like if you get prescribed to have a massage because it's something that is good for your mental and physical health, that can be a tax deductible expense. Over-the-counter drugs, menstruation products were just recently made qualifying medical expense. And then, of course, COVID-19 expenses, medically necessary components that are related to COVID-19 are also a qualifying medical expense, with the exception right now of masks. That is not yet a qualifying medical expense, but maybe hopefully someday soon. So as we said, we have Starship is actually the first health savings account to have investing built in as a native component of our app, which means you can go right into the Starship app and make investments. Starting this summer, you'll be able to do that. And it's super easy. You just go in, you answer some questions about, your income and your risk tolerance, basically what you would do if you have investments in any account. And the reason for that is to help you set up your portfolio. And then you can turn on auto invest and just let your money build and build and build. And we know that it might sound like a weird time to be talking about investing, but a lot of investors will tell you that when the market is down like this, it's sometimes if you have the money, it's the best time to invest because the market over time has always recovered. And so as a long-term retirement strategy, it's a good time. It can be a good time for investing. So. And of course, as we said before, we are available to you. Our support team is available Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern time. And then you can ask questions and get answers 24/7 on the app. And we've been very frequently answering questions throughout the weekend too. So we're here for you, and we can answer questions whenever you need them answered. So now that you know a little bit more about Starship, let's talk a little bit more about HSAs. They've been around for about 20 years now, almost 20 years, and they were created to help people become more consumer oriented in their spending of their health expenses. They are tied to a certain kind of health plan, which we'll talk about in just a moment, but they're made as a sort of tax vehicle or a tax advantage vehicle to help you save money on your health care, to help you spend your money in a more consumer-oriented way, and to get a long-term benefit from it as well. So what is an HSA? Well, we like to call it a spending account with superpowers because you pay no taxes on the money that you save, no taxes on the money that you invest, and no taxes on the money that you spend, provided you're spending it on qualifying medical expenses. There is a lot of, very frequently you hear if, well, isn't an HSA just like an FSA? And the truth is, it really is, except one big thing. There's no use it or lose it. So with an FSA, you can only, if you don't spend all of your money in your FSA before the end of the year, then you lose the balance. With an HSA, you never lose a balance. It always carries over. So you're constantly building up money, and if you need it for an emergency at some point, or you just want to invest it, then it's going to be there for you. So with all of this kind of tax advantage, they did have to put in some certain eligibility requirements. And we at Starship are working on expanding those requirements at all times. But for now, you do have to have a qualifying high deductible health plan. These are also called CDHPs, or consumer-driven health plans, to be eligible to enroll in a health savings account. Now, as the name implies, the high deductible health plan does have a higher deductible than most other kinds of plans, and you do have to spend what's called first dollar expense, which I'll talk about a little bit more in just a minute here. But that is the main requirement for having an HSA. You can't have any other health coverage if you have an HSA. So you can't have a high deductible health plan and then also get a PPO. That's not really allowed. And you can't have other things like a health share ministry or Medicare, Medicaid, those kinds of things in order to have an HSA. You have to be a U.S. citizen or a permanent resident. Basically, you have to have since it's an IRS thing, it's a tax thing, you have to have a social security number and be paying taxes in order to qualify to have an HSA. And you cannot have a general purpose FSA because usually FSAs are linked to plans like a PPO or an HMO. And therefore, you just can't have both at the same time because they both give you a tax benefit. So how much can you contribute? There is, again, as a sort of a tax vehicle, they didn't want people to kind of say, well, I'm super rich, so I'm going to put $50,000 into my HSA. so that I don't have to pay taxes on it. $50,000 per year. They limit it every year, just like you would see on a 401k or an IRA. And those limits you see here, they do go up a little bit year over year to account for changes in cost of living, and they have actually, we just saw yesterday that the limits for 2021 have come out, and they did go up about $50 or $100 as well. So and you see also there is a single limit and a family limit. So if you have your whole family on your, then you can, or even just one person, then you can give double the amount. So so you get more tax savings with the more people that you're covering. And as we said, there is a tax component, a sort of income tax component to HSAs. There are several forms that you would need to know about and to track for your annual taxes. The first is the 1099 SA. That's for distributions. This is essentially money that you're spending from your health savings account. The 5498 SA is contributions. That's all the money that you put in there. And then the 8889 is a sort of combined form where if you are putting money in and then taking money out, this is essentially the spreadsheet or the list of things that you've been spending your money on. So the good news is that most of the online tax services, the automated tax services like your Keeper Tax or TurboTax or whoever you might use, they're going to automatically, the 1099 and the 5498 are forms that you would get from your HSA provider like Starship. And then the 8889 is they're going to have a sort of an automated system to help you fill that in. So we make it as easy as possible, but it is taxes, so there is some kind of pain there. All right, now that you know a little bit more about what HSAs are, let's talk a little bit more about how to save, spend, and invest with your health savings account. Should you do these things? Should you pay for your healthcare expenses, invest money for retirement, lower your income taxes, or do a bit of everything? Well, we say do a bit of everything, or do what is best for you given your circumstances and what you want to get out of your HSA. Why would you save with an HSA? Well, for most, it's the default where you're going to put your money in there, and it's the most risk-averse thing you can do. You just let it sit in there. They are interest-bearing accounts, and Starship has some of the highest interest rates in the business. We know that interest in general is very low right now, but you do earn interest on the amount that's in your health savings account, and it guarantees you access to the funds. So if you have your funds in your savings account, then when you pull your debit card out, you know that the funds are going to be there. Whereas once you put your money into an interest account or an investment account, then you'll have to pull it back out before you can spend against it. So just one thing to know. So what are some saving strategies? There is more than one way to save. So you can go with a cost-based, saving strategy. Many of you who've had FSAs are very familiar with this. You kind of figure out about what you might spend in a given year so that you don't go over, since you would lose it on an FSA, but you don't lose it on an HSA. But you still want to keep pretty close to that. And get the tax benefit, so you can kind of figure out and then decide what increments you want to put it in. Do you want to put it in weekly, monthly? You want to do one lump sum at the beginning of the year so you have the whole thing available to you? Then you can do that. You can do goal-based. That's always something we did that before when my wife was pregnant with our second child, where we wanted to do a sort of goal-based savings plan, or you can just save up for an emergency fund, and that will and just know that you'll have the money there for you. And then you can maximize your savings. Just if you have the means, then by all means put in the maximum contribution every year and watch it grow over time. And you don't have to put it in one lump sum. You can put it in on a whatever increment you want. You could put it in $10 per day or $1 per day, and watch it grow over time. So now let's talk about spending. Now, this is the number one thing that people do with a health savings account. We know that that costs can be for healthcare can be very high, and the one downside of having a high deductible health plan is kind of in the name. It's got a high deductible, and you're required in many cases to pay for your own medical expenses out of your own pocket until you meet that deductible amount, which can be $2,500 or $5,000 or whatever it is. And that's not a little number. So a lot of people use this to save because of that tax benefit. You're saving, somewhere in the range of 20% on the expenses that you have to do that. So it really does help you save money. And it's convenient. I can say from experience that we've used our health savings account in our family, and it's great to be able to pull out that separate card and have it go through and know that you're not only saving money, but you're able to kind of keep track of all of your medical expenses in one place. So these are some real high benefits of being able to spend. And again, there are different ways to sort of optimize your spending. One way is to find out how to, how does it what qualifies? Do the things that you're spending money on qualify as a medical expense? And we have a list at Starship that is very extensive. There are hundreds of qualifying medical expenses. So we encourage you to visit starshiphsa.com and see what those qualifying expenses are. And again, budget for your spending, going back to that kind of goal-based or the kind of expense-based, just figure out what you might want to spend in a given year and then budget accordingly for what you want to do. And then another great thing about HSAs is that you can pay yourself back at any time. So let's say that I had to get a knee surgery, and I was able to afford paying for that out of my own pocket as opposed to paying for it with my HSA. Or maybe I didn't have enough in my HSA to cover the whole thing. If I save that receipt, then 10 years from now, when I have the money in my HSA, I can turn in that receipt to Starship and I'll get a big check for the money that I spent on that knee surgery. So this is also really valuable if you're close to retirement age, because if you've saved up all of your expenses for various medical costs that you've had, then in retirement, you can turn in those expenses and get all of that money back without any taxes coming out of it. So some great ways to think about your spending, both in the short term and the long term with your HS. That's really it. We just wanted to be able to tell you a little bit more about health savings accounts. As we said, you can contact us anytime at support@starshiphsa.com. And you can sign up. We do have a special sign up just for Wonoloers at starshiphsa.com/Wonolo. And now I'm going to go ahead and turn it. I want to thank you. And one more thing, I wanted to say that we really not only appreciate Wonolo for letting us join this, but we really appreciate all of the work that you are doing. And we know that a lot of Wonoloers are essential workers. You're on the front lines, and we at Starship appreciate it, and we hope that you and your families are staying safe and sound. So with that, I'll turn it back over to Trad, and I think we may have just a couple of questions that we can get answered for you.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you so much. That was super insightful, and we really do appreciate your kind words. So yeah, we're all about saving money, especially in these times. So we definitely see the impact that Starship can have. But yes, we've had some Wonolo submitted questions that we will ask away. So Wonoloers, thank you for submitting these questions. So Shan, let's see. How do I know if my health insurance is eligible for an HSA?
That's a really good question. That's one of the key questions that we get on a regular basis. So I mentioned that you have to have a high deductible health plan. And the easiest way to know if you have a qualifying high deductible health plan is that it will be called a high deductible health plan, but it also, it probably won't be called something like an HMO or a PPO. Another way to look at it is that sometimes they call it an HDHP with SO or savings option. So that's another way to, really know. And then if all else fails, just ask the person that you're buying it from, because they should know immediately if it's a qualifying HSA or a HSA qualifying high deductible health plan. So if you're working through an agent, or if you're getting it through, let's say, you're getting your coverage through your spouse's company or through a company that you work for or something like that, they should be able to tell you pretty quickly if it's a qualifying HSA or a qualifying high deductible health plan or not. And on the flip side, just so you know, I mentioned this a little bit before, but if you have currently Medicare is not qualifying, Medicaid is not qualifying, things like health share ministries and short-term plans are not qualifying. And this is important to know, and we're working on this, but a lot of the plans that are available through the ACA public exchanges are not qualifying plans. I was actually on one myself last year through the ACA that was, a good plan, and definitely, if you qualify for subsidies on ACA plans, then go for it. With or without the HSA, but just know that because of the way that the ACA plans are set up, some of them don't qualify for health savings accounts.
Gotcha. All right, let's see. Wonolo Kenny L from Texas wrote in, how do the tax benefits work for gig workers?
Yeah, so also a very good question. So I mentioned this a little bit, but the way that it usually works, if you are getting your healthcare coverage through an employer, then and they have kind of payroll deduction. You're a W-2 worker, in most cases. Then what they'll do is they can take the money out before they take your taxes out of your paycheck. So it goes in, the taxes have not come out, and you never pay those taxes. Now, for most people, they don't have that option of the payroll deduction. So you put the money in at any point, during the year. And then at the end of the year, when you file your taxes, you do that 1099 SA form and the 5498 form. You basically get a tax benefit, and a really big one. Depending on your income, it can be anywhere from 15 to 25% of your income in most cases. So if you put $1,000 in, then that means that you're going to have essentially a tax deduction of about $200 at the end of the year. So with gig workers, I think that, if you're 1099, you're looking for any kind of, deduction, and the HSA is a really powerful one, so that's a big way that it works for gig workers in particular. Just, it's more of an end of the year benefit or a tax time benefit for you. And in the meantime, you're, getting to spend money on things that are gonna, because of that tax benefit, are gonna end up costing you a lot less.
Gotcha. Shan, thank you so much for joining today. You've been really insightful, and we appreciate you coming on.
Well, thank you very much, Trad. It's been wonderful.
Yeah, and thank you to Starship for offering this easy-to-use service. I know that a lot of people will benefit from it. From all of us at Wonolo, thank you for being a part of the Wonolo community. We appreciate all of your hard work, and stay safe out there. All right, see you later, Shan.
See you. Take care.